Okay, folks, happy Monday. Things you don't ever hear. So we're going to do kind of a mixture of different stuff. We're going to attempt to paint some figures. And you'll see where we go. I'm pretty tired, but I'm willing to do some stuff here. So I guess I probably should have done this before I went online. I realized, do I need to take my contacts out? Yeah, I kind of do. I kind of have to take my contacts out. Because I'm going to need to see a little bit better than that. Get it in all those nooks and crannies. So I'm just going to mute the microphone and I'll be right back in just moments. Hey Marcus, what's happening, man? I need to get in here with a little bit more attention to detail than that. All right, let's move these two glasses so I don't get confused. Because wearing these readers when I need the regular prescription, that's a shit show. That doesn't work at all. Okay, so we've got a couple guys here. We're going to work on a couple things. We got some cool stuff that's coming in the mail. Supposedly, if it's coming today, they said that it was coming. It'll be in tomorrow. And we're going to work on something a little bit different that involves that stuff coming in the mail. So we're going to do the basing on these two troops that do have magnets on them. And then we're going to paint the Hoffman. Okay, I printed up his name, and let me see if I can do this. Take the penny off that guy and put it on him. We're gonna get good enough purchase on it. Yes, I don't really need a tank crewman, and yeah, we'll do the Hoffman next. Okay, so let's get the usual suspects here. Chocolate, nope. U.S. Field Drab, chocolate brown, and Iraqi sand looks like it's this one. Nope, that's buff, which is almost the same color. Dark sand, which is also that's almost the same color. All right, we're gonna need to do this with some vision. Is it this one? No, that's dark sand. Well, son of a biscuit eater. There it is. Yep. Just another week. What's on deck tonight? Yeah, well, we've got these two American troops. One of them is a combat miniatures. Another one is a battlefield guy. And then we're going to roll into painting this guy right here. This is the Hoffman. That's who he is. Actually, we're going to do something cool. We're going to, because it's going to take a little bit of time to do that, I'm going to go ahead and paint his sign. And I printed these. I couldn't remember what size font it is. I want to say it's 6 that I used for all these. I think this is the font. I think it was used Arial Narrow. I think that looks right. I think it was the smallest one. The fact that it's narrow helps because, you know, you've got limited amount of space on. God, which one of these was it? I can't freaking tell. I can't freaking tell. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that little piece of wood, which I should have more of them. But it's a relatively small piece of wood. It's that one, okay? And we're going to paint it chocolate brown. Doesn't even have to be that big of a piece. I forget, is Hoffman a battlefield or combat figure? He's a battlefield figure. Yeah, he's a battle. I believe he's part of the Stalingrad range. You know, I'm not a fan of AI, but I did an interesting experiment today. I was like, write me a backstory of a French girl resistance fighter and what her backstory is. And it did something pretty interesting that worked really well. Just like, I was thinking, you know, this is kind of like a role-playing game. And one of the guys that puts on games at our local show, he plays Pig Wars a lot. And one of the things that he does is he gives you these file cards, just a 3 by 5 file card that, you know, tells you what your character is, who your enemy is, and kind of like what your objective in the game is. So, you know, in a way, the backstory of the character. It's really simple. It's not like a poem or something like that. It's really pretty simple. But I was thinking about that, you know, with the French resistance fighters, because they're all different. They're all different. They all have different equipment also. And, you know, it's not necessarily stuff that, you know, works well together. Like you might have somebody with a shotgun. Shotgun's not a very practical weapon in this environment if you're out in the open, you know, because you get out pretty far, you're not going to hit somebody. Okay, this should be enough for Hoffman to have his little stand. So we're just going to sit this over there. I didn't want to cut it. We're going to end up cutting it, but I didn't want to have to commit to where it's going to be because I'm just going to end up wasting it where I could just continue on with the other name. Okay. Why am I having so much trouble on what size it is? I think it's the smallest one. I'm pretty sure it's the smallest one. We'll wait for that to dry and we'll cut that out. And we'll just put that a little bit of boy, we have a loss of words today. A little bit of Elmer's. All right, so let's take Martin, that we already put the goop on him, and we're going to paint this guy all over with this, at least the base. Is there a manufacturer that you have some figures of that you don't really care for? Certainly there's got to be those. When I did that dive the other day, I was surprised how many of the figures that I have I actually liked. You know, I don't like the faces on some of those FAA guys, but maybe I'll do a head swap on them, you know? Of course, the smart thing is don't do anything with them until you've painted all the figures you do like. So we've got these Litco bases coming in. Could be 10 to 14 days for them to come in. I got something that's coming in tomorrow. That's what we're going to work on next. Going in a totally different direction with what I'm doing tomorrow. I've never done it before. But I've seen several videos of things people did, and I'm going to improve upon them. So we got some tea lights and hot glue gun and some florist wire. We're gonna make some crackling explosions. Not for the panther; it's on fire because I think that's just smoldering. I'm gonna spray paint some. You know that's like, you know, if you have a penetrating shot and, you know, there's something cooking off in there, you need that. You paint almost anything, just like some better ones than others. I'm currently painting some Mars and SG US infantry. The Mars figures are not good, but I'll make them look okay. They look worse than the SG. I'm not a fan of the SG figures. They're awfully necky, and they're almost like they're in like with these poses that almost seem like flats. They're like stretched out. I don't know that I'm going to paint any of my SG figures, but if I did, I'd probably paint Japanese. I just remember I have Japanese for them. I feel like I'm going to do the Pacific at some point. I'm not going to do any island landings. I think those are just something I'm just totally not interested in. But maybe something Burma-like. I think Burma's be a good theater. Looking forward to the next batch of figures. A unit of Caesar Italian paratroopers. I'm going to try the camouflage. Yeah. Challenge yourself. It's the only reason I'm looking forward to painting SS is because that's a challenge. I'm sure they'll turn out fine. Especially because I got a clue, and lots of people have done like I've done, and they're like, hey, here's this video on how to paint the smocks. And you may or may not agree with how it is, but at least it gives you kind of a starting point. You know, like if you're going to paint like an SS camo smock, really the hardest thing you need to do on it is like, what's your base color going to be? What are you going to start with? You know, because like SS camo smocks have a pretty equal color in all the colors. It's not like it's mostly one color and then there's splotches of other ones. No, it's mostly it's a pretty fair mix of all the colors. I just hate those SS ranking system. You know, even the guy that cleans the toilet is a something Führer. You know, toilet brush Führer. Oh, that guy, he's a Feldwebel. No, he's not a Feldwebel. He's a Scharführer, whatever the hell they're called. Silly ass rank system. I get several of those plastic figure manufacturers mixed up because I don't own any of them. You know, I want to get that set. It's made by two different companies. One of the companies is called LW, and they make a Soviet tankers. And what's cool about the Soviet tankers is they got a guy that's carrying like the DT machine gun, like he just pulled it out of the tank, and he's he's going to move. He's like, well, we got to bail out of this tank, but we're taking everything worth a damn. It's coming out of it. And there's another guy that's carrying like bottles of vodka. It's a cool set of figures, you know. And I was going to pick it up at Historicon. They wanted like $13 for it. I'm like, no. Caesar has great detail. Okay. Yeah, I just haven't played with. I just haven't ordered any of them, so I don't know the distance, the difference between all of them. You know what's really confusing when you go on Plastic Soldier Company is there's one company that's called Waterloo 1815, and when you see the description of what it's listed, it makes it look like what is these listings for Napoleonic figures in the middle of like the Italians or something like that. But that's like the name of the company is Waterloo 1815. Yeah, they actually have some decent looking Italian figures. Yeah, we definitely needed our glass. We needed our contacts off to do this. Also, very good figures. You purchased the Italian Infantry Support Group. Is that by Caesar? Yeah, there's a couple of them that I have some pretty big packs. Have a mixture of figures with like pith helmets and the little caps and stuff. They look pretty. They look pretty decent. And other than a couple of figures of the Airfix that have make believe weapons, I think the Airfix figures were okay. Yeah, Waterloo 1815. Oh, they're good figures. Yeah, there's well, I think I can. Plastic Soldier Review. And let's go periods. The Second World War. Italy infantry. Yeah, see, it's hard to make out. It looks like they're out of place because they start with Waterloo 1815. I'm like, oh, these figures they're listed in the wrong place, you know. But no, they're there. Italian infantry campaign dress. Italian infantry at El Alamein. These look like they're similar poses as Eschi. It's campaign dress. Here's the support group. Well, these guys all have. These guys are like for Italy. Folgore division. Those are paratroopers, I believe. XMOS, we don't need that. What kind of light artillery did they make for them? Oh, the 47 millimeter anti-tank gun. Yeah, the figures look kind of lame, but you know, kind of. As long as they're not super soft. This is the ones that I wanted to get. This Desert Patrol looks really good. And by who is this by? Strelets, and then Italian Infantry and Defense is the other one. These actually look really good. Except they have way too many submachine guns. Look at this Guido, man. He's like a battle Guido. Look at this guy in the corner. He's like a badass. And it's like, Italians don't suck. They got me. Dun, 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 dun. Italian Rambo. Technically, is that kind of like a double? Yeah, and then you got these guys up here, these riflemen on the top row. They look pretty decent. Yeah. You have those? Are they good? They look good. Caesar World War II Italian infantry. These guys are all over the place. Some of them are North Africa. Airfix made Italian infantry? Wow, not really a variety of poses, are they? But anyways, infantry and defense and desert patrol, that should be great, man. I mean, if you get I think one of the scenarios has like 3 squads. Just that first row right there, they're all riflemen. You get 4 of each, so you got 16 guys that are riflemen. And you got a light machine gunner, so you get 4 light machine gunners. Plus you got 4 of them on the ground. I don't have a problem having a repeat figure. If I need 3 squads or something like that, if I need 3 squads, one squad can have this guy standing up shooting. This other one can have a prone guy. And then just repeat the standing up guy. It's not a big deal. And the desert patrol has, yeah, this guy has the machine gun slung over his back. Yeah, nice variety of figures there. I don't know who the hell uses a squad leader. Probably this guy with a feather in his hat. I thought that was the Bersaglieri that had those guys, but they might have had. I don't know much about Italian infantry. Details not as crisp, but good poses. Okay. I was looking at who's the guys that make the partisans. Is it Caesar? Oh, Caesar makes some Volkssturm guys that look pretty cool. Anyways, shit, we could spend all night looking at figures that we don't have. But those Russian tankers I have actually painted up really well. I was surprised. I believe those were Orion. They painted up really well. They had really good detail on them. Okay, that's Martin. Martin is done. Now we got Flanagan, which is somebody, sounds like he's got a drinking problem. Yeah, the Greek partisans, yeah. So it's going to take a while for these, the penny magnets to come in, but that's all right. But I'm glad I went through those figures this last week. I came across, those wounded guys are actually useful. Actually useful. Those tankers are Orion Haran. I bought a U.S. winter set, painting 2 of them now. Yeah, I think they'd be pretty durable. They have really good faces. Like, really good faces. Yeah, this is the... Let me show you this, what I was talking about. This is the Soviet tanker set that I want to get. I just don't want to pay that kind of money for it. And I don't need it, so... Where's the Union of Socialist Dickheads? It's LW, and then the other brand is, because they're the same thing. Oh, they're the Tank Crew. Evolution, I believe is what it is. Yep, it's the same as Evolution. These guys, I'm gonna zoom in. I'm gonna zoom in this for you, and I'll show you what it is. So this is what it looks like. Evolution set EVF 031. Okay, and this is what it looks like. Now I'm gonna put it sideways so we can zoom in on some of these guys. That's some pretty good looking figures. And they only come with one of each. That's great. And the next row is these guys right here. All one each. And then the last row is my favorite row. This last row is fucking great. You got a guy with a DT machine gun. This guy right here. This guy right here. He's got all the bottles. You know, a couple tankers with paper shawls on them. Great freaking poses. But all of my tankers are not going to have names. I'm probably going to write a little number on them underneath. Because, you know, I don't want to, next thing you know, you got to build like tank crew for every single tank. Well, it's like, I'm not going to build like, okay, I have how many Panthers? 4? I need 20 crewmen? Like, no. No, you use them if they, you know, bail out. They'll have names on the sheet, but they stay in the tank. That row is awesome. It just, you see stuff like that and you're like, oh, I can't wait to paint them, you know? Look at this. Look at this guy right here. Look at that guy with the bottles, man. He's freaking awesome. Now, the worst thing about plastic figures I thought was going to be getting the paint to stick to them. That's actually not that bad. What's really bad is you're cleaning the flash off them because you can't scrape them. So you have to do like all these like mini cuts. So it's almost like you're getting carpal tunnel while you're doing it. It's pains. It's definitely a job for, let me take my contacts out and do it. But I still get excited about figures. It's just different figures now. So I went and I was looked to see who has the molds for these combat miniatures. And you look up combat miniatures, and there's this company. I forget which one it is. I don't think it's Stonewall. I think it's a different one. They had they've added a bunch of figures to them, but obviously they're not even remotely the same painting style. As a matter of fact, their painting style kind of left something to be desired. At least I don't really care for them. But I have all the combat miniatures range with the exception of Russian cavalry, U.S. Marines. I think that's it. I don't have any of their modern ranges either. Looking now on Plastic Soldier review site. Yeah, you could spend a lifetime on there. And Scalemates, you can spend a lifetime on them. And what's the other place? Henk of Holland. You've been to Henk of Holland, right? Between Scalemates, Henk of Holland, and 172nd on the way, you could find like kit reviews of just about any model, you know, of the tanks. You build the model tanks, right? You build them in 172nd. I don't mind building the vehicles. I don't mind building them because I don't really have a time frame where I got to get them done. So I don't mind doing that. If it was like, man, I got to get these guys done for the weekend, well, then maybe we don't want to work on them. But the one thing I noticed is working on plastic models, time really goes by way too fast when you're working on plastic models. And I think a lot of it has to do with, you have to scrape all the flash and stuff off of them, mold marks and, all the little intricacies that they have. And some have a shitload of mold marks, and some of them aren't bad. But unfortunately, there's some that just have a lot. There's only one company that makes Chinese, right? Is it Caesar? And have you seen that 800 movie? And is it worth watching? Or is it Chinese propaganda? I started watching it, and it's not. It doesn't have subtitles. Well, it does. I put them on there anyways. I mean, I watch stuff in English with subtitles. It has dubbing, and I don't like dubbing because you get some guy. You'll have some guy that looks like a very Asian. I was like, "Hey, boss, what do you think we should do?" It's like all this like terminology that I don't think that they would have used. You know, I have over 3,000 painted figures and over 400 AFV's guns. And the scary thing is there's so much more out there. Funny thing is that you are the only person I know into 20 millimeter. Well, way back when this was the scale. Everybody else just decided to turn it into something else. There's a few of us in the States, but there's not many. It's mainly you and me. What's cool is that they're relatively inexpensive. I mean, they're a lot more expensive than they used to be. So you could be just like, pick some up. I'm looking for a affordable M10. I'm looking for an affordable M10. And I think when I'm ready to do them, I'm just going to have to get the UM ones. I just don't really have much of a choice. I don't want to. I would use the Armor Fast ones, but I got to get ones that have a breech. And even if I got those, they don't have the racks for the 76 millimeter guns behind them, and that's like kind of a visible thing in the turret. Caesar makes some Chinese figures. Really, and some of the scratch build stuff this YouTube War Games China does. Yeah, I saw some of his stuff. I didn't find much of his stuff inspirational, but I didn't watch his. I don't watch a lot of people's videos. And it's not that I had a problem with it or anything. It's just that, by the time I'm done with this, it's like time for bed. I am subscribed to his channel, but I don't think I've watched much of his stuff. I did like he had like some kind of train or something like that he was doing. I mean, I like that I don't even know what rule set he's using, but he was doing stuff for like China and 38 and stuff like that. That's pretty neat. But that's nationalist infantry that they make. They don't make any communist infantry, do they? You probably have to create your own. Now, on figures I haven't painted yet, this is the method that I'm going to use. But the problem is I have two things. I either take the nameplate out, or just paint around the green. And that's what we're going to try. If I don't like how it turns out, well, then we can always put a new nameplate on here. What did you think of the Britannia M10? Oh, I didn't see there was a picture of it on there. I couldn't. I have some of their vehicles. They're fine. I don't have a problem with Britannia's vehicles. I didn't see any. There was no picture of it. But I don't need them anytime soon, you know? I don't need them anytime. The only reason I would need them is for that one stupid scenario I saw in that book. Okay, so let's go ahead and cut the Hoffman out. I want to do that on the smoother side of it. Let's get a brand new knife for this. You don't want to cut paper and be all like not smooth looking. There is a picture. At least I see it. Okay, I'll check it in a second. Let me cut this name and glue this down. I went that other day, you mentioned it. I didn't see it on there. Could also do a Google image search Britannia M10. And should come across it if there's a picture of one. That's one of those guys going to close his business down, isn't it? I think it is. Okay, I believe it's this one. The smallest one. Don't hassle the Hoff. Yep, that's the size. So it's actually 6-point Arial narrow, bold. I put the bold thing on it. It's 6-point Arial narrow. That's what we found that we liked how it looks. I've always liked Arial the way it looks. Impact is another one that I like how it looks. We don't need very much of this. And we are going to need the tweezers. And a brush of unusually small size. Oh, Slapdragon. All right. That side's furrier. Okay. Fourth under tab. Okay, look under. Okay, I'm looking right now. I will look right now. All right, grubby tanks. Okay, and the menu is Britannia miniatures, right? 20 millimeter wool. You said look under what? 20 millimeter tanks and soft skins. Okay. And it's a fourth tab under that section. Well, things look a little bit different on my phone. Let's see if I can. Oh, let's put it on the desktop site. There we go. German crab flail. I have that one. And I have their firefly. Fourth tab? Under that section, fourth tab. Well, I'm just going to look in here until I find a bunch of German shit. Germans, 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 and Germans. Sort by SKU. Okay. Fourth tab, so probably the fourth page. I'm just going to go to the fourth page. If that's what you mean. Price is not bad. I haven't found it yet, but I was just looking at the Martyr 3. It's actually my least favorite Martyr, but it's actually the useful one for Normandy. The Martyr M. Here's the Jackson. Oh, here's the M10. It's not bad. It's a shame that it... Oh, I got a visitor. Just a second. I wish I hadn't put any of the the sandbags. I was going to buy a set of the sandbags, but yeah, it's got the racks for the ammo. How much are they? £8.50, £8.50. So that's going to be around $11, $10. 11 times 4 is $44. Yeah. I didn't want them to have any sandbags. So I was going to buy the sandbag set from Black Dog, reproduce them, yes, for my own use, and then make them all look different. It does have half figures. That's kind of a plus. It's not bad. This is one of those guys that they're going out of business soon, right? Like they're gonna try to retire, and I got like a year or something to get with them. The figures are Britannia figures though, so they all look like the same guy. They don't look like they would be the same guy. They look all right here. Okay, so that's probably the most reasonably priced one. Yeah, at least on your computer. Yeah, I just put it. I wish there was a way my phone would always just default to computer desktop, the desktop view. I mean, that's why I have a big phone. That, and I'm overcompensating. All right, we can go ahead and put the other two colors on this and do this one. We could do these two fellas. Hey, fellas! You're thinking of putting a large order. Oh, I don't know what I'm gonna need it. I don't know what I'm gonna need it. I was willing to get the ones from Armor Fast. There's a guy in Canada selling 2 of them, but I really need 4 of them. And they don't have any breaches. I could just make that scenario different. Just an idea, anyways. I'm almost ready to start my own scenario, just to practice one. When I was looking through those rules the other day, I'm like, this isn't that difficult. I can do this. where's my Flanagan? I think I just lucked out at that one show that I went to a couple of years ago. I bought so much stuff. There was two deceased. There was two deceased guys that were having estate sales, and I picked up all the stuff from them. I mean, I had a lot of vehicles anyways, but the freaking Russian Horde I picked up from one of them. Like 35 T-34s. And they're Skytrex ones, so they're not the best ones, but at a couple of bucks a piece, yeah, they paint up just fine. They paint up just fine. All right, let's get the Iraqi sand. So the basic painting, looking forward to seeing the miniature Hoff. Well, it's not written like that. It's Hoff, like his name. Because I actually have a Kaufman that's spelled like yours. I do have one. Actually, he just needs basing, I think, right? Yeah, he's here. Yeah, he's this guy with a grenade. Yeah. Yeah, he's Kaufman. Yeah, I've got him, but this guy's a Hoffman. I like the way I do the skin better now too. Well, you live and learn. It's not bad. I'm not going to repaint him. So he can use a basing as well. And he's got a magnet on the bottom. Yeah. We'll work our way through this stuff. Smoke grenades. I make some smoke grenades too. So I've got some ideas on how to do some stuff that I don't need to make a whole bunch of them, but and it might be one of those things that you play a game. You're like, man, I really wish I could bring my little notebook. We need a marker for this, or we need a marker for that. So let's make one so it looks three-dimensional. The Americans have more smoke than anybody else. Germans don't have smoke worth a shit. I'm talking about like on the troops themselves. WP, Willie Pete. I look at these figures and I don't love the basing here, but if they photograph, great. So I think the fact that it's just it's not on the green background of the ground. And I saw several videos that people had made about making your own terrain mat using caulk. And I can't do that because it's too thick. Then it won't work with the trees. So I literally need to make like a sheet. I think I'm going to have to make it because it's just to get that 8-foot dimension. I'm going to have to make that myself. Have to go to Joann's or Hobby Lobby and have those older women hit on me. Nah, they just like, what are you doing here? Like I'm like a lost puppy dog. I'm like, you don't understand. I may not knit things, but I'm a crafty bastard. had some guy that actually put a comment on one of my old DBA posts and wanted to kind of argue about how the rules were doing something wrong. I said, well, even if I wanted to do it that way you're describing, I would have to do it, and I agreed with your position, which I didn't, but I would have to play it completely different than anybody else at a tournament. So, besides, that's not my war to fight anymore. I'm done. I'm done arguing about that stuff. We're gonna do the things however the hell we want to do them. If there's stuff in this face of battle that I don't like how it handles it, I haven't encountered anything yet, but I'm prepared. It's hard to catch every single thing. There might be something that they overlooked something. It would be like let's say there's an armor or something that's wrong on it, but it's a tournament game where you got to play it the way it's written. But if it's written like wrong, I'm like, I don't want to play something wrong. Because I'm probably going to double check all the armor values because that kind of shit's fun for me. Invoke the nerd burgling in that. Let's see if Rick shows up. See if Rick pops out of the bottle. Nerd burglar, nerd burglar, nerd burglar. Marcus, did you ever play Close Combat? The video game Close Combat? I'm just thinking, you paint black around these figures because in Close Combat, in some of them, you can actually have them outlined in black. So they stand out a little bit better, like the actual figure. That's kind of the same equivalent. There he is, Nerd Burglar. Ooga. Welcome back, Rick. Yeah, somebody had a comment today, just today. They came up on some post that's like 4 years old or something like that. I don't argue about the rules. They're not my rules to argue about, I'm not the DBA guy, I'm not Phil Barker. Go argue to him about him. Oh, that's right, he doesn't want to listen to you. I'm just never going to play something that I've got to put up with it being a certain way for consistency, because we're going to play this in some tournament. Like, those days are over. If something doesn't make sense, by God, we're going to play it so it does make sense. It's a red light special. Nord Burglar. Nord Burglar off the starboard quarter. I'm sleeving a game called Super Kawaii Pets. I bet they're cute. So the problem with Japanese stuff is, well, I don't know if this is all stuff, but I know somebody who's really into Pokemon stuff. And no, it's not Mitch. Really into it. And the biggest problem with that, other than it's for children, is the people that named some of these creatures failed advertising in a big way. Like you have a creature that looks kind of like a cat, and it's called, what's his name? Lippy Cat. It's like it's got like what it is in the name of it. It's like, come on, man, you could do better than that. It's like some 4-year-old named this stuff. So I suspect the kawaii stuff is the same way. One of the games that we really like to play as a family, we don't play it very often. We don't really play family games as a family very often, is Sushi Express. And Sushi Express is a cute little game. I'm sure you have Sushi Express. It's a pretty decent game. We're on a cruise. The last one we went on, they had a game room. It was like they had a game room it wasn't like off by the library where the other ones I've seen them. It's literally like front and center. Like if you need to go, you have to go through the game room, which is kind of cool because it gets people to go by an area where they could be other playing games. And they probably had 60 or 70 games in the library. They had a lot. They had like multiple copies of Carcassonne. They had, you know, Risk. I'm trying to think. Did they have Axis and Allies? I don't think they had Axis and Allies, but they had Risk or something like that. And anyways, and they had Cards Against Humanity, which I'm a big fan of, and I really like to read the cards out as they happen. Like, not read them in advance, so you get the over the top reaction. But anyways, we went through a whole deck of that and played through the whole deck while we were waiting for something to happen. The four of us, so that was kind of cool. Yeah, I think they had sushi to go there as well. And we got the other one, whatever it's called, Sushi Express, or I can't remember what the difference is. But the standard game is pretty succinct, anyways. It doesn't need to really be a sped up anymore. That has little kawaii things on there. Or is it called kawaii? Like the state? Yeah, I'm not a fan of them newfangled things. I still call it Mount McKinley, and I call it Hawaii. Not with a stutter or a Tourette in the middle of it. Why is there a Tourette pause in the middle of this state's name? I don't know. It's Hawaii. Okay. We didn't have that problem growing up. We just called it Hawaii, and it wasn't an issue. Oh, this guy doesn't have the end of his base painted. Davis. Huh. We're gonna have to fix that. Sushi Go Party is definitely a go-to for me for bigger groups. It's a decent game. It looks good. It's a good-looking game. It's simple, but there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat in it. It's one where you frequently have to look up the rules, like, okay, how many cards do people start with? But then once you look at it, it's like easy to find them and that kind of stuff. When I play those kind of games, though, I'm usually playing with people who don't play games. So one of the things that usually comes up, like you have trouble finding something, well, let's just go with it like this. And I'm like, no, because then you set a bad precedent. We'll find out what the rules are. No reason to play the rules. No reason to play the game wrong. Man, I haven't played a game of what's the game that my favorite party game to play though. I mean, easily even better than Cards Against Humanity. And you may not know what this is. Well, you have a console, so you should know. The Jackbox games. The Jackbox games are incredible. The Jackbox games are incredible because you can play them on the console, and everybody uses their phone as a controller. They're great, and not every game that's in the whatever's, but I think we got 4 of them. I think we got 1 through 4, and they're up to like 10 or something like that. You know what I'm talking about. Those are fun. I don't mind party games. I just don't like games that it either takes forever for your turn to come back around, or there's nothing to think about, or it's just like there's nothing to think about. Like Monopoly. I haven't played Monopoly since I was like 10 years old, but I think all you do is land on shit, right? Until you run out of money, and then sit around and see who goes broke first. Like that's just like random. Like, okay, let's pick a number, and whoever gets closer wins that game. Okay, that was fun, Although we had a silly time at one game night at a friend of mine's house many years ago, and they had that one game called Win Lose Banana. And it's like the dumbest, most simple game ever. Well, we were playing that between turns of the other game. And I don't know, I was just playing with the right crowd and we were just freaking laughing about shit all the time. I don't know. No, there was no alcohol or drugs involved. It was just funny. Okay, I'm going to go take a leak and then we will go and put the furries on these three guys. I know, you got excited because I said furries. And we'll go from there. I'll be right back. You know, if I didn't have anything better to do, I'd come up with alternate rules for Heroica. I got 3 sets of those back when. God, how old was my daughter? 10, something like that. Cute little game. Just needs better rules. You know, the Lego game Heroica, which is out of print. They pulled the Games Workshop. Assholes. Get everybody fired up and then they discontinue shit. Like, what the hell? Okay, went into Barnes and Noble the other day, and I was surprised how much Lego shit they have there. My brother gets into that stuff. Well, he's got them like in his house and shit like that. Like he's got like the James Bond car and Lunar something or another. I had the old school Legos where you had white and black pieces and blue and yellow and red. And, I was going to build like a battleship. I needed to get the swivel things, but I only wanted to use white and black, and the other ones would use blue and red. And. Definitely been too long since I got out your Heroica stuff. Yeah, I thought it was a pretty decent. I mean, you could really expand on it. It's cute. It still is. Armless little bastards. They don't have any arms. What time is it? Oh, it's not even 9. Nah, we're good for a while. You still good sleeving stuff? We're gonna put some furries on these guys, and well, not on Davis. Davis is good to go. Davis is plenty good. On Flanagan and Martin and Kaufman, and then we'll roll into Hoffman, the rifleman that likes to aim for people's privates. Now, he's aiming down a tiny little bit. Yeah, it could be aiming at somebody's feet. It's just a lot farther away. Privates, mid range or feet, long range. Take your pick. Okay. So we got some of these, we got some of these. Let's get all the usual suspects out. They should be out here. I just gotta be careful because the Australian ones don't need glue. That really kind of throws me off. Okay, they're back. Because I have 4 of them. My buddy Greg sent me those from Land Down Under. And that was for the desert. Oh yeah, here we go. I gotta be careful of this stuff. This stuff's really, really sticky. Let me pull out 3 of those. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Yeah, you don't need a. Oh, what are these doing here? You don't need any glue with those. Those stick really well. I gotta be careful. These got Japanese written all over them, and they're not. Yeah, I think I'll do Japanese at some point. I mean, who can resist playing a game where everybody goes, you know, you just make believe guttural sounds. Learning the rules. Do you enjoy learning the rules? I don't. As I've gotten older, I'm like, it's not that I don't want to play by the rules, just you get confused. And so many games have loopholes. Oh my goodness. So many. It's a plague. And if we have any extras that we don't use, we'll set them to the side and use them on the next batch. All right, these lead-bearer ones do not need, let's get our tweezers out. We're definitely going to need that. This is a lead-bearer one. We don't want to use glue with them. That just really throws things off for them. Now we can use the Elmers for the other ones. Better play soon before you forget. Yeah. Yeah, it happens. You ever play a game that, like when you were a kid, you thought it was like really complicated, and then you get to be like an adult, or not even, your age now, but like half your age. Well, you'd still be a kid, but, in your 20s, and you're like, I don't know what the big deal about this game was. What's so fucking complicated about it? For me, that game was Risk. I saw Risk for the first time when I was like 9 years old. I'm like, oh, this game's so fucking complicated. I don't understand it. And now it's like, that game's too fucking basic. I'm not playing that bullshit, There's not enough stuff going on. Or Risk is a war game. Only if you're not a war gamer. You know what I haven't played in a long time? And actually, Stratego. I haven't played Stratego in a long ass time. I mean, like decades. Shit, maybe even 4 decades. Of course, I don't own it, so. But that's one of those games where both sides start the same, don't they? So, not super interested in that. Not a big fan of. Yeah, when it was little, it was Risk. Yeah, it seems a really complicated game when you're little, The cards don't make any sense when you're. What do you mean I trade them in? Like, I'm all the way up against, I got 1 territory. Well, you just trade all these cards and you get 60 armies and you come back and take everything over. What? That doesn't make any sense. You know? You're just impressionable in a different way when you're a kid. I remember going to this toy store. At that point, it was a precursor to Toys R Us. There was a store called Lionel's Playworld, and I think they had a kangaroo or something like that, right? Toys R Us has or had a giraffe. Lionel Playworld was a kangaroo, yeah, and it was a big fucking place like Toys R Us. You know, when all the other toy stores were like in the mall, you know, KB toy stores and shit like that. You know, it'd be toys like in Sears and, you know, I don't think Walmart had been invented yet. Yeah, and they had this big play set. I always wanted it. Was a Guns and Navarone play set. It was like fucking huge, like this huge freaking mountain. Of course, it didn't look anything like the real movie. You know, I grew up watching that movie, so I got a soft spot for it. But yeah, never got that play set. It was like, you know, freaking expensive as shit. You know, things that cost like that kind of money, like I didn't get things. I mean, I had cool toys, but you know, I don't just get bought something. It's got to be like for Christmas or something like that. Lionel Playworld. Yeah, now kids don't play with toys. I don't know. I don't know what kids do. They got them smoking dope at 8 years old. I don't know. Okay, so these guys are ready to roll. This is well, not exactly. I need to put some dull coat on him, but yeah, yeah, we got to do that at. I want to use the super. I want to use the super enamel stuff. I don't want to mess with that tonight. Let's mess with this kraut. This kraut named Hoffman. Herr Hoffman. Herr Hoffman, I should say. What does that mean? Does it mean house? Houseman. German surnames have the same thing as the oh, I got a new subscriber. Awesome. Um, Hoffman. Me. They have a lot of trade names. In medieval times, the name was a status name for a farmer who owned their land rather than renting it. It also refers to the manager or steward of a manor farm. The name is common among Jews. Oh, you better not tell anybody. Uh, Hof, which means farm. Okay. Manor, farm, courtyard, and man, which means man. Oh, you think? Okay. So it's like a free man. It's like a free farmer. He's not an indentured servant, or he's not just some bitch living on the land or working it. Okay. So we're going to do a couple things here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this. I'm not going to take this one because it's still wet. I'm going to take this one and I'm going to flip it upside down. Oh, and we've got a label. Can we get rid of that label? That's going to be distracting as shit. Cottage cheese label. Aren't you the guy that likes cottage cheese with like onions and black olives or something like that? Like, God rest your soul. All right, let's get a couple of field grays out there because this guy has a later enough uniform that's just going to be variants of field gray on him. So I'm going to grab both field grays. Okay, I'm going to do the tunic top in one. I'm going to do the pants in the other one. So I'm going to grab field gray from Coat d'Arms, and I'm going to grab field gray from. Got it on the first one from Vallejo, and they should be similar. Yes, cottage cheese with onions and see, I associate cottage cheese as something that goes with like sweet stuff. Like I remember when I was a kid, cottage cheese with like canned pears, like holy or peaches. I'm like, oh yeah, set me up. Now I just have it with usually blueberries, little frozen blueberries, tiny little frozen blueberries. That's one of my breakfast staples. All right, let's see how these colors compare to each other. And hopefully they're different from each other. If not, we'll go to Plan Q. So in these figures, I paint, I know what color the uniform is going to be. So just paint almost everything you can in the uniform. Are they different at all? Probably not. Probably not very different. Probably not very different. What did I do with that brush that was here? I dropped it in there. Drop it like it's hot. I don't really care for, of all the olives, my least favorite are the black ones. I'm a solid green olive fan. And let's see if this looks any different. Maybe. So let's drop a flow aid. We're going to need that here. And we're going to put a little bit of black here in a corner. We'll use the Vallejo black. Even though I painted many figures using the cheapest black of all. Because you go through a lot of it. Nope. That's an army painter color. All right. Let's put my glasses on so I can see. So it's this one then. Yaha. Okay. And we might as well put the white out here as well. We're going to need it soon enough. I haven't done one of these in a long time, but this should be like child's play compared to the other paint things that I do. Oh. All right, we can use this. This brush is decent size. We don't want one that's too small. We'll be here all week. So I'm gonna do the pants in this color. So we're gonna add some black to this. Add a little bit of flow aid. No, we need to go darker than that. And do all the negative stuff in there. So all this is going to be the darkest color of the shadow. Let's go a little bit darker. Shadows, all this. And this guy has his trousers are not stuffed in the boot. He is slacking. Looking all disheveled. I said, tomorrow we're going to do something I've never done before. Assuming I can go on tomorrow, which I don't know that I'm not going to be able to, but I got something that rather interesting that I want to be working on. And then we're going to use straight color. And then we're going to add a little bit of white to this. And go up a little bit more with a little bit more white. I don't know if I asked you this before, Rick, but you have people over your house, play some games, and you'll tell them, hey, what do you guys want to play? And they suggest a game that, they frequently suggest a game you hate. What is that game? What is that game that you have that you hate? What do you regret buying? A good reason to get rid of that game. Or find other friends. I'd rather not play a game with you guys than play that one. I remember the first time I tried to play Catan. I don't own it. God, I hate that game. It's ugly to look at, for starters. Spyfall for sure. Social deduction. Last time someone brought taco cat goat cheese pizza. That's the name of a game? I hope I never have to experience that game ever again. Yeah, Battlestar Galactica. Mitch and I both hate that game, and we came to conclusions not at the same time. Can't stand that game. Can't stand any games, we already know this, where you got to play a turncoat. You know, you get handed out being a turncoat. And the problem I have with that is because during the game, you have to convince other people that you're not the turncoat. Well, that's like fucking lying, and I don't want to play a game being a liar. You know? I don't want to be a freaking liar, man. And nobody's going to believe me. You know, it's like, oh, I'm not really not lying this time. We were lying in that game. Well, I had to. You've lied before. I'm like, I don't want to play a liar. You know? I don't mind fucking people up. But I don't want to play a liar. I don't want to be telling people, oh, yeah, no, listen to me. And then, you know, I know that I'm just some kind of, you know, leading people astray. I don't like that. I want to be able to sleep at night. You know? Yeah, I don't like 1830. old Avalon Hill game and its variants. It's a train game where you don't actually, most activity is basically buying and selling stock. I'm like, stop. Just stop. No. I'm not interested in that. Or that godforsaken Soldier King from GDW. Well, GDW went out of business, so unless somebody wants to play an old game. Whew. No, we're fading fast here. Now, there's some games that, even though I didn't win them, I have a really big interest in playing them a second time, just because I feel like I appreciate them a lot more. One of them is those games by God. Who are they by? I guess they're who are the folks that GMT? I think it's GMT. They have the Maria and the Friedrich one. Those have some interesting mechanisms that I don't think I could appreciate at the time that I played them because it was kind of like, rushed. And then what's that Hasbro late Avalon Hill game? Vegas, is it Vegas Showdown where you're building a casino? That's a great game, and it's not a combat game, but that's a great game. It's easy to understand bidding game. A game where you don't have to play it 50 times to get the hang of it. Well, I unfortunately think I'm going to call it a night on that note, because I still need a shower and probably get some shut eye. But I appreciate you guys coming on, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Have a good night, folks. Bye bye.